Hey everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to your fourth stimulus check and news update. In today's update, we have a lot of news to get into, but first, if you would like to receive a couple free stocks from Webull, valued up to $2,300, make sure to claim them by clicking my link in the description box below. Okay, so even though the $300 federal plus up in unemployment benefits will be coming to an end in just 1 week from today, many other benefits will continue to stick around. These include, of course, the advanced enhanced child tax credit payments that have been for either $250 or $300 per child. Then, starting on October 1st, there will be an increase to SNAP benefits of 25%, bumping the average increase to around $36.24 per person. To qualify for food stamps, the USDA does stipulate that a household must have a net income equal to or below the poverty line. Finally, there's also the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, where Congress set aside $46 billion for states and local governments to use it. So if you or anyone that you know are currently struggling to pay your rent or utilities, in the description box below, I will leave a link where you can apply for this assistance. This is going to be extremely critical since recently the Supreme Court did overrule the CDC's eviction moratorium, allowing for them to now take place. According to Goldman Sachs, in their recent estimates anyways, around 750,000 households could be impacted by the moratorium being overturned. At the moment, it is believed that tenants owe anywhere between $12 to $17 billion to landlords, with as many as 3.5 million households behind on their rent. This is why these rental assistance programs are going to be so crucial, and to be honest, most landlords are probably going to prefer not to have to go through the eviction process, so they should be able to help you fill out these forms. If you do need any help personally with filling out these forms, or which ones to fill out, make sure to leave a comment below. And back to those unemployment benefits for just 1 second. Even though they are coming to an end in just 1 week, there is still a small chance that they do get extended at some point in the next couple of months. Even though unemployment numbers are continuing to decline, showing some sort of an improvement, some lawmakers are still pushing to get the benefits extended in the next relief bill, the one around human infrastructure, which is expected to amount to around $3.5 trillion. In some other news, after the last US troops left Afghanistan, the Taliban began celebrating in the streets, shooting off fireworks, and shooting ammunition into the sky.
The final departure of the US military after 20 years, and their Taliban adversaries celebrate across Kabul. From multiple guns of all sizes and description, automatic gunfire lit up the night sky in a rolling thunder. Throughout Monday, as the evacuation from the airport continued, speculation mounted about when the US would complete their withdrawal. Patrolling aircraft circled over Kabul, together with a B-52 bomber, as a steady stream of transport planes lumbered off out of Afghanistan. Then, soon after midnight local time, on August 31st, the day set as the deadline for the US departure, the aircraft sounds died away.
Of course, even though our troops are out of the country, many American civilians and translators have been left behind enemy lines, leaving their families wondering whether they'll ever see them again. Secretary of State Tony Blinken believes there are still under 200 Americans left in the country, and he pledged ongoing support to get them out of Afghanistan.
Let me talk briefly about the Americans who remain in Afghanistan. We made extraordinary efforts to give Americans every opportunity to depart the country, in many cases talking and sometimes walking them into the airport. Of those who self-identified as Americans in Afghanistan who are considering leaving the country, we've thus far received confirmation that about 6,000 have been evacuated or otherwise departed. This number will likely continue to grow as our outreach and arrivals continue. We believe there are still a small number of Americans, under 200 and likely closer to 100, who remain in Afghanistan and want to leave. We're trying to determine exactly how many. We're going through manifests and calling and texting through our lists, and we'll have more details to share as soon as possible. Part of the challenge with fixing a precise number is that there are longtime residents of Afghanistan who have American passports and who were trying to determine whether or not they wanted to leave. Many are dual citizen Americans with deep roots and extended families in Afghanistan who have resided there for many years. For many, it's a painful choice. Our commitment to them and to all Americans in Afghanistan and everywhere in the world continues. The protection and welfare of Americans abroad remains the State Department's most vital and enduring mission. If an American in Afghanistan tells us that they want to stay for now, and then in a week or a month or a year, they reach out and say, "I've changed my mind," we will help them leave. Additionally, we've worked intensely to evacuate and relocate Afghans who worked alongside us and are at particular risk of reprisal. We've gotten many out, but many are still there. We will keep working to help them. Our commitment to them has no deadline.
However, you really can't help but feel awful for all the family, friends, and loved ones of Americans still stranded in Afghanistan. Will they be tortured and possibly even killed by the Taliban? Will they eventually be found and rescued? Who really knows, but the uncertainty alone has to leave their loved ones up all night, full of fear and with anxiety and complete sadness. I can't even imagine what they must be going through right now and what's going through the minds of those Americans still stranded in the country. Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton hasn't been overly happy with how things have been handled, saying that Biden only kept promises to the Taliban, not with Americans. He also believes we may have been just a little bit too noble with the evacuation of Afghans, many of whom he believes had very little, if any, connection at all to our service members over the last 20 years.
Well, Laura, I share all troops are out of Afghanistan. It is the time to demand answers, to hold accountable all those officials who created the terrible conditions that we've seen in Afghanistan for the last several weeks. Some of these things are very simple questions to which there are knowable answers. What did the military recommend to Joe Biden about Bagram Air Base? Who decided to close Bagram Air Base? What were the arbitrary troop numbers that were capped at the end that led to the closing of Bagram Air Base? There's a lot of very simple but very critical questions to be asked, and the answers are knowable. They're sitting on a piece of paper somewhere in the Pentagon and the White House, and it's time for Congress to demand those answers in the weeks ahead. It's also time, as you say, to ensure that we are conducting rigorous oversight of the resettlement of refugees in this country. Look, we all want to protect and welcome those Afghans who served alongside American service members. We've heard from so many people in my office, service members and veterans, who vouch personally for their translator or their interpreter. But we evacuated more than 125,000 Afghans at last count. Many of these had very little, if any, connection to our service members over the last 20 years. Look, I'm glad they're out of the Taliban's grips, but they have to qualify under American law before we admit them into this country. They cannot be a threat to this country. And like the Trump administration kept many Syrian refugees in Jordan, leveraging our relationship there, that's probably what we're going to need to do with most of the Afghan refugees who are in places like Qatar or Turkey or Albania or other countries. I'm glad that they're out of the Taliban's grip, but it's not our responsibility to welcome every single one to the country if they did not contribute directly to our military forces there over the last 20 years.
Right. Well, we keep hearing things about Afghanis who are at risk need to be out of the country. Well, that's millions of people. That's not 120,000 people. We're talking several hundred thousand or millions of people. And again, everyone feels terrible for everyone suffering around the globe, but there are laws in place, and Congress has a responsibility to make sure the laws are either changed, that refugee caps are lifted, and pretty much anyone can come here and live here if they're Afghani and they don't want to be there. That law has to be written, passed by Congress. They have to live with it in the next campaign, and Biden has to sign it into law. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, Laura, part of our oversight will be looking backwards at the failures that created these conditions in Afghanistan, but are welcome to our country. But again, more than 125,000 Afghans were evacuated out of Afghanistan. They're in places that may not have America's standard of living, but at least they're safe from the Taliban. That doesn't mean that we have to bring every single one to America.
Well, one of them is already, the Washington Times reporting on one Afghan who was convicted of rape and deported and then made it back to America on one of the evacuation flights. Again, I just don't trust these people to vet people properly or to handle this properly. There has to be rigorous oversight.
With that said, do you believe that fully evacuating before getting every single American withdrawn from the country was the right move? Or do you believe that we should have stuck around, ensuring that every single American was able to safely get out? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, if you would like to receive a couple free socks from Webull, make sure to quickly claim them by clicking my link, which you'll find in the description box below. To receive the first stock, you will need to fully open an account. Then, to receive the second free stock, which will be valued up to $2,000, you'll need to make a qualifying deposit of at least $5. Even if you aren't all that interested in investing or continue to invest at this point in time, you can always sell the free stocks that you do receive and transfer that money, however much they're worth, right back into your bank account. So free stocks or free money, completely up to you. So again, I hope everyone has a great and safe rest of their day, and I'll see you in the next video.